Welcome back to The Explainer, everyone. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining us today because, honestly, we're about to completely transform how you prepare for exams. Seriously, if you've ever found yourself staring blankly at a textbook at 2 a.m., only to wake up and realize you literally haven't retained a single thing, yeah, you're in exactly the right place. Today, we're tearing down those awful habits of passive consumption. We're going to show you exactly how to structure NotebookLM to totally master your exams by building an active, highly targeted learning environment.
Because here's the harsh, striking truth of it all. Passive consumption just doesn't stick. Think about it. Think about how often we lazily scroll through AI-generated summaries or highlight paragraphs endlessly, just crossing our fingers and hoping the knowledge will magically absorb into our brains. It doesn't work that way. If you use NotebookLM the exact same way for every single topic, you're falling right into that passive consumption trap. To actually learn, to really make it stick, you have to actively design the experience yourself. You're in the driver's seat. You control what goes in, how you play with it, and what you actually do with those outputs.
Okay, let's dive into this actionable playbook. We've got 5 quick steps today. 1. Stop passive consumption. 2. Curate your exam sources. 3. Flashcards to master core vocabulary. 4. Quizzes to test deep understanding. And 5. Tying it all together into the ultimate learning loop. All right, let's hit section 1. Stop passive consumption. This is all about the mindset shift. So when you're studying for an exam, your whole purpose has to shift, right? It goes from just building a general understanding of a topic to actively testing yourself on it. There is just a massive, massive difference between passively reading a giant wall of text and actually engaging in an active testing loop. Look, reading long, dense text is cognitively expensive. You finish one paragraph and poof, you've already lost the thread from the one before. Simply asking an AI for a summary and passively reading it, that is not going to prep you for test day. Instead, NotebookLM has a specific set of built-in tools. They are literally designed specifically to actively challenge you and create these incredible automated feedback loops. Moving right along to section 2, curate your exam sources. Because exam prep is so highly domain-driven, the whole foundation of your learning loop relies entirely on the exact materials you upload. You are the absolute best judge of what material is actually required for your specific certification. The progression here is brilliantly linear. First, you gather your reliable domain-specific sources. Next, upload them right into NotebookLM. But here is the real secret weapon: auto-labeling. With just a quick click in the Sources panel, NotebookLM automatically groups your sources into folders by topic. It's kind of like magic. You can even add little emojis and shift things around manually if you want. Let me tell you, when you're staring down dozens of complex PDFs or lecture notes, having them auto-labeled makes managing all that knowledge feel so much easier. Up next is section 3, flashcards, to master core vocabulary. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is how we use the first built-in testing output. This is where we start actually interacting with the knowledge base we just built. Think of the flashcard feature as your first layer of defense. It's designed for broad coverage. What it does is sweep your entire source base to systematically pull out key vocabulary, definitions, and core concepts. To put that into perspective, in one instance, a single notebook instantly generated 108 cards. That's huge. And the best part? They're incredibly versatile. Flashcards can handle almost any source material you throw at them to cast a really wide knowledge net. But here is where the active learning really kicks in. When you're flipping through these cards, you're self-judging. Do you understand it or did you miss it? If you get one wrong, you don't just shrug and move on. No way. You click See Answer, and then, this is absolutely crucial, you click Explain. When you do that, NotebookLM takes that specific missed concept and treats it as a direct question against your own sources. It generates this highly targeted, totally grounded explanation for you right there on the spot. It is a total game changer. It's this beautiful automated feedback loop pulling straight from your curated materials to close your knowledge gaps instantly. Okay, let's move to section 4, quizzes to test deep understanding. Let's see how this builds on what we just did. Because once you've got that core vocabulary locked down, you need to step it up. You need a tool meant for a much higher cognitive level. You really have to ask yourself, am I just testing basic recall, or do I need to test complex relationships? Flashcards are great for that basic recall, for sure. But real exams, they rarely just ask for a simple definition. They want you to apply those concepts, and that's exactly when you must graduate to deep, scenario-driven testing. This is where the quiz feature shines. It generates multiple choice, scenario-based questions that literally force you to connect the dots. Remember those 108 flashcards we talked about earlier? Well, for that exact same notebook, the quiz only generated 12 questions.
12. That alone shows you it's operating at a vastly higher cognitive level. But here is the critical catch, and you really need to hear this. While flashcards will work with almost anything, quizzes heavily depend on the quality of your sources. You absolutely must have strong, specific source material in there for NotebookLM to generate those meaningful, complex questions.
Which brings us to Section 5, the ultimate learning loop. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly when to deploy each tool in your study workflow. It's your cheat sheet. You start with flashcards for that broad coverage, nailing down vocab and definitions, which works with almost anything. Then you step up to quizzes for targeted depth, testing scenarios and relationships, which relies entirely on those strong sources you curated. But the real magic, the actual ultimate learning loop, happens after you take them. For both tools, once you're done, you filter down to only the items you missed. That filtered set, that becomes a smaller, hyper-targeted learning object for your next session. Next time you sit down, you are only focusing on your weakest areas. And that leads us to a bold but absolutely achievable goal, 99%. Look, everybody has access to these exact same tools. The tool isn't the secret, it's how you interact with it that makes all the difference. By shifting your mindset away from passive reading, by carefully curating your sources, and by intentionally designing these active, interactive feedback loops, you can learn better than 99% of people out there who are still just staring blindly at summaries. You're doing the work that actually sticks. So I want to leave you with this final provocative question to really think about. How will you reshape your next study session to guarantee the information actually sticks? You've got the exact blueprint right here. You know how to stop passive consumption and build an active, automated exam prep engine. So get out there, gather those sources, auto-label your folders, and start actively testing yourself. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I really can't wait to see you absolutely crush your next exam.